Hello and very warm welcome at Army Shackle 5858. I am Army Shackle. Following are the news which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African, and Australian channels and AFP, AP, Reuters news agencies. Now, please watch the news headlines.
Tonight, in breaking news, just as we come on, President Trump has just revealed a deadly U.S. military strike. The image is just in tonight, the U.S. targeting a boat in the Caribbean. What the president says the vessel was carrying, the military strike, the president says has been deadly. Pierre Thomas standing by with what we just learned. Also breaking, President Trump late today saying of Chicago, we're going in. The governor there responding tonight. After the Armed National Guard in Washington, D.C., and after the National Guard in Southern California, the president says Chicago is next, even as a federal judge rules tonight that the Trump administration broke the law with what it did in California. The Labor Day storms and the fires, the evacuations tonight, a couple swept away in flash floods. Also with hurricane season here, what Ginger Z is watching tonight. The Labor Day shark attack, an 8-year-old boy, the harrowing call to 911, bitten on the leg, airlifted to a hospital. What we've been told about the surgery so far. The childhood prank turned deadly. Tonight, a man is now charged with murder, allegedly shooting and killing an 11-year-old boy who rang the doorbell and ran away. Tonight, victims of Jeffrey Epstein in Washington, D.C., meeting with the Speaker of the House. Their new push tonight to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. What the House Speaker is now saying, and will there be a vote to release the files? Tonight, just weeks after President Trump rolled out the red carpet on U.S. soil for Vladimir Putin. Tonight, Putin is now in China, joining China's President Xi and North Korea's Kim Jong-un now in China too. The message they're sending to the U.S. and the world. Back in the U.S. tonight, the surveillance police searching for a wedding crasher who they say stole tens of thousands of dollars from a bride and groom, and you'll see it. The alarming images, the race to save a young boy spotted high up on the monorail track in Hershey Park. The suspect dressed as Chuck E. Cheese arrested tonight. You'll hear the audio, what they say to him, what they call him. Tonight, our partners at Nat Geo with actor Chris Hemsworth. His mission to help us all keep our brains sharp, how to fight off cognitive decline, and what he's willing to do about it. And we remember a well-known actor tonight from Dances with Wolves to Green Mile, and now the Powerball tonight, the eye-popping new jackpot.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York. Meantime, another bloody holiday weekend in Chicago. 54 people shot, 7 killed through Labor Day weekend, but officials in Illinois still resisting any help from the White House to get crime under control.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
Brewer Group CEO and former NFL player Jack Brewer joins us now to react. Jack, good morning to you. There's obviously a political urge from Democrats to go against anything Donald Trump does. But Mayor Johnson right there is saying he wants to protect the humanity, the human life of every single person in Chicago, while refusing the very help from Donald Trump that could get him to do that, all while 54 people were shot in Chicago over the weekend, which is a routine number for the city. So do you think he is aware of that twisted irony between his message, what he's saying, and the actions that he could take with President Trump to prevent these crimes?
Of course he does. I mean, he is a master manipulator. Can you imagine being able to have that message in front of a crowd of people? I mean, who are the people yelling? It's like he's a cult leader. It's unbelievable to see what we're seeing in the streets of Chicago continue, particularly for Brandon Johnson, someone who's from there. He's seen it. He's seen the bloodshed in the streets. You look at the names and you see the ages of the victims. I mean, there's dozens of kids that got shot over the weekend. I mean, you would have a memorial service right now going out in most communities if you have that type of people getting shot. I mean, this is more numbers than you saw in the Iraqi war. And so it's just ridiculous. I think there has to be something done. The citizens of Chicago, when you hear from them, they're urging for President Trump to come in there and clean up this city. The bloodshed must end.
Yeah, you can't protect humanity if the humans are dead. I mean, that's implicit in what he said. It makes no sense what he said at the end of the day. Let's go over some stats. Chicago has seen a significant increase in felonies, misdemeanors, and motor vehicle theft since 2021. I mean, those are huge jumps in most instances. What are Pritzker and Johnson going to say when the Guard ultimately does move in and those numbers inevitably go down? Because, Jack, we know they will when the Guard's there.
No question, they're going to do the same thing that you see the mayor of D.C. do. You start to see those politicians, those Democratic politicians, they're going to have to listen to the people because it's going to affect the way they fundraise. And that's an unfortunate situation. The reality of their schools producing kids that can't.
On this Tuesday night, a new school year and new school rules in Alberta.
Our first goal is making sure that students are welcomed and feel safe.
The policies on pronouns, playing sports, and a book ban that's been pulled back while teachers threaten to strike. Fears for Afghanistan's women and girls after a powerful earthquake, why they will likely struggle the most. Refusing to keep it bottled up.
And you guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers.
Why Ontario's premier is angry at Crown Royal. Plus, tributes for a trailblazing Canadian star.
All of these things that were putting us into boxes as Indigenous actors, and Graham broke through that.
Graham Greene's remarkable journey to Hollywood. Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Eric Sorensen. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Today is the day when most Canadian families shift their routines from summer hours to getting up and hustling out the door. For kids and parents, from teachers to bus drivers, the question, what's new in school this year? Well, in Alberta, there's plenty. At the center of it is the provincial government. It has brought in controversial policies on gender and sex education. An equally controversial ban on books was just put on pause today and is preparing to lock out teachers in a contract dispute. As Heather Yorick's West reports, welcome to the first day of school.
It's the day many parents have been waiting for.
How are you feeling about the kids going back to school?
Kind of happy, that they're getting back, give our lives back to normalcy.
But big policy changes mean things will be far from status quo this school year.
We have provided guidance to our staff, to our administrators and teams that is in alignment with what has been established through the Education Amendment Act. Our first goal is making sure that students are welcomed and feel safe.
New rules mean teachers are now required to inform parents if students want to use a different name or pronoun in class, and school sports designated for girls are only open to those female-born. A lawsuit against the measures filed Tuesday will challenge the new changes in court. There had been changes planned for school libraries too, but after intense backlash, the Alberta government has backtracked, announcing an order to remove books with sexually explicit and non-explicit passages is on pause.
I feel like it's a good initiative about the banning of some inappropriate material.
Parents can teach critical thinking and education to their kids, and that those books should all be available.
On social media Sunday, Margaret Atwood, whose book The Handmaid's Tale was listed by Edmonton Public Schools as a title.
The Metropolitan Police. Free speech.
The Keir Starmer tells police to concentrate on serious crime as Graham Linehan is detained over tweets.
Well, it comes as the gender-critical father Ted Writer was arrested and detained at Heathrow Airport on Monday as he got off a flight from the United States.
But as shoplifting soars, do the police have their priorities in the right place?
Nigel Farage is in Washington. The Reform UK leader will address the House Judiciary Committee in the US Capitol. He'll be looking at European threats to free speech and innovation.
The Chancellor under pressure. Rachel Reeves faces intense pressure as long-term borrowing costs soar to a 27-year high.
It's so fake. I knew that you were saying, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong?
President Trump addresses the press for the first time in a week, hitting out at those viral rumours on his ill health and even speculation that he was dead.
The Trump administration releases thousands of Epstein files. 33,000 documents relating to the late child sex offender have been released, but Democrats suggest most have already been made public.
A show of force to the wild. President Xi, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un put on a united front as they arrived in Beijing, with China showcasing its latest military weapons.
And a third of the new Strictly lineup are taking fat jabs, sparking fears stars won't be able to keep up with the show's grueling dance schedule.
And as Nestle fires its CEO after an undisclosed romantic relationship with an employee, we're asking, is it wrong to date a junior colleague?
And sport this morning in cricket, England are thrashed by South Africa in their first one-day international. Carlos Alcaraz breezed into the US Open semi-final as he has another favourite golfer, Rory, and the worrying extent of cyclist Chris Froome's injuries have been revealed following his crash last week.
Hello there, good morning. A yellow warning for rainfall has been issued across southern parts of England and Wales. Stay tuned and I'll be here with all the details.
Morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock.
Stream it all on ABC iView.
Today, Australia's latest growth figures cast doubt over future interest rate cuts. WA police conduct under review after a video emerges showing an Indigenous man being pushed to the ground and tasered. The government's able to bill to tighten freedom of information laws. Transparency groups warn it could lead to further secrecy. And military might on display. Xi Jinping welcomes leaders to Beijing, flanked by Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Childs. Latest growth numbers are in and show that the economy is growing faster than expected, which could put the prospect of further interest rate cuts on hold. With more, here's our finance reporter, Alicia Barry. Hey, Alicia. So take us through the figures.
So with Hello and a very warm welcome. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines. Military might on clear display and a uniting of leaders from China, Russia and North Korea. A parade to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II aims to show China's current strength. Blowing up a boat in the Caribbean that it says was laden with drugs and killing the 11 people on board, the United States says its military has carried out its first operation since deploying warships to the region. And Burkina Faso passes a new law putting fines and prison sentences in place for anybody found to be engaging in or promoting homosexual or transgender activity. Good to have you with us. Well, also coming up, Emily Boyle will be here for a review of the international papers. Among other things she's picked up on, she'll be looking at the shock decision to leave ABBA out of Sweden's official cultural records.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Grace Shin, and at this hour. At grand military parade in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping warns the world must choose peace over war, urging nations to stand as equals to prevent history from repeating. Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un joined President Xi Jinping as China flexes military muscle, rolling out cutting-edge firepower from hypersonic missiles to drones and tanks. And a potential end to the political deadlock in Thailand. The acting prime minister has moved to dissolve parliament, while the country's biggest faction moves to back the Thai party to form the next coalition government. Our top story this hour, China staging a massive military parade in the capital Beijing, marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. President Xi Jinping addressed the gathering, paying tribute to the Chinese who fought to end the war. He warned that only equality and mutual support among nations can prevent the tragedy of conflict occurring again.
Good morning, everyone. It's 6 o'clock on today's show. A massive show of military might from China, with President Xi standing alongside the leaders of Russia and North Korea. Plus, former Prime Minister Liz Truss tells our very own Wolf Frost that she's not ruling out a return to politics, and we need a Trump-style revolution here in the UK. It's Wednesday, September the 3rd. Coming up, China's Victory Day parade. President Xi says the world faces peace, and China will be bullied. Former Prime Minister Liz Truss accuses Labour of ruining the country after borrowing costs hit a 27-year high.
I just see Reeves and Starmer as part of the sort of economic orthodoxy that has ruined this country.
Keir Starmer tells the police to focus on serious crimes after Father Ted creator Graham Linehan is arrested over a tweet about trans people. murder of the mother, murdered teenager Brianna Jai, launches a campaign for mobile phones to be banned during school hours. And in sport, Novak Djokovic will take some stopping as he powers into the semi-finals of the US Open in New York. Hello, good morning. China has showed off it.
Africa News. The news.
A court in Finland has sentenced the controversial leader of the Nigerian secessionist movement to 6 years in prison after finding him guilty of terrorism-related charges. It found that Simon Ekpa, a Finnish citizen of Nigerian origin, had attempted to promote the independence of the so-called Biafra region of Nigeria by illegal means. He heads the banned Indigenous Peoples of Biafra group, which allegedly has been responsible for killings and abductions of hundreds of people in Nigeria's southeast. The region was briefly independent in the late 1960s, but its attempt at secession ended after a 3-year bloody civil war that led to the death of more than 1 million people. The judge said he'd also equipped armed groups with weapons and explosives and stoked tensions on social media. Ekpa was also convicted of aggravated tax fraud and can appeal to a higher court.
Once a lush green oasis in Morocco's Dranta-Vila-led region, this palm grove bears the scars of a devastating series of recent wildfires. Date palm cultivation palm fronds caused the fire. All people did guard watching over the farm to protect it and alert the residents. This negligence contributed to the spread and wording of the fire. The residents of the area are suffering, but they were hoping for very important and revived these trees and brought them back to how they were. Environmental organizations are calling for new investment in sustainable irrigation techniques to ensure the resilience of the palm oases in the face of accelerating climate change.
Belgium will recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations General Assembly next week. Belgian Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost made the announcement in a post on X, adding that sanctions will also be imposed on the Israeli government. The decision averted a government crisis triggered by disagreements between parties about implementing measures to throw over its conduct in Gaza. Sanctions will be placed on far-right Israeli ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, as well as violent settlers. Belgium will place restrictions on certain weapons exports and ban imports from illegal settlements. Policies with Israeli companies. The government will also push to facilitate increased humanitarian aid into Gaza and spend more money to fund the World Food Programme. Israel began mobilizing tens of thousands of reservists on Tuesday as part of its plan to widen its offensive in Gaza City, which has sparked opposition domestically and conflict abroad. The call-up announced last month comes as ground and air forces press forward in northern and central Gaza, striking several neighborhoods in Gaza City. Zaytoun, once Gaza City's largest neighborhood, has been transformed over the past month, with streets being emptied and buildings reduced to rubble. Gaza City is Hamas's political and military stronghold and, according to Israel, still home to a vast tunnel network despite multiple attempts at dismantling it throughout the war. It is also one of the last refuges in the north of the Strip. Hundreds of thousands of civilians are sheltering, facing both danger from combat and famine. Meanwhile, criticism over the war in Gaza is growing. On Tuesday, a group of Israeli reservist soldiers declared that around 365 of them will not report for military duty. It remains unclear if others will also refuse the latest call-up.
A warm welcome in Beijing as Chinese President Xi Jinping greets his Russian counterparts, calling him an old friend as bilateral talks begin. Ties between Russia and China have grown closer, especially since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Our close interaction reflects the strategic nature of Russian-Chinese relations, which are at unprecedentedly high level. Xi has global trade. China and Russia have their original course, leaving free for cooperation in these fields. China is willing to work together with Russia to support each other's national development and revitalization, firmly uphold fairness and justice, and promote the building of a more just and equitable global governance order. The Beijing talks set the stage for a massive military break Wednesday, marking 80 years since the end of World War II. China will be looking to showcase its latest military hardware, memory tech, and ambition.
Breaking
news as we come on the air from the White House. The military strike in the Caribbean. The president putting out this video saying 11 drug traffickers on that boat were killed in a precision strike. The White House says the drugs were headed to the U.S. coming directly from Venezuela. This as the president prepares to send the National Guard into Chicago. The governor and mayor pushing back hard ahead of possible immigration raids and crime crackdowns. And the new legal questions after a federal judge ruled the president's deployment of troops to Los Angeles was illegal. The death toll soaring in Afghanistan. Entire villages destroyed by that catastrophic earthquake. Rescuers racing to save those trapped in the rubble amid aftershocks. The deadly doorbell prank. A Houston man now charged with murder, accused of fatally shooting an 11-year-old boy who rang his doorbell and ran away in a game called Ding Dong Ditch. Our exclusive accusers of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell speaking out. Their plea for justice and the call for the DOJ to reopen the investigation. All coming amid a new bipartisan push in Congress to unseal more Epstein files. The festival goer found dead at Burning Man in a pool of blood. The hunt for clues in this homicide investigation. The new deals coming to McDonald's. Why Big Mac combos and more could soon cost less. And who they're trying to bring back to the restaurant. And hold the phone. The group of families going retro. Bringing back landlines. Why they feel more connected than ever. NBC Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Young. A U.S. military strike in the Caribbean. The target, a drug boat from Venezuela.
A lot of drugs in that boat.
Also tonight, the president says he's planning to send the National Guard into Chicago and Baltimore.
Chicago does not want troops on our streets. Eye on America. California is taking responsibility for fighting wildfires into their own hands.
I saved multiple homes with garden hoses.
Direct from our newsroom in New York.
And remembering the way it was 62 years ago tonight.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
President Trump has been threatening to use the military to go after drug cartels, and today, the administration says he did.
The Navy has been pouring warships into the southern Caribbean. Today, U.S. forces launched what a defense official calls a precision strike against a vessel from Venezuela.
It was filled with drugs, the official says, and operated by a narco-terrorist organization. Charlie Daggett is at the Pentagon with the details. Charlie?
More details coming in this afternoon, Maurice. The strike announced this afternoon by the president comes at a time of unprecedented military buildup near Venezuela. It marks the first of its kind so far, and the administration warns this is just the beginning. A video posted by President Trump shows the moment the boat was struck. He claimed it killed 11 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, and that the vessel was in international waters transporting drugs towards the U.S.
We just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, traveling to Mexico City, posted the...
Tonight, Congress returns to Washington to face a looming budget battle to avoid a government shutdown and tension over the Epstein files.
The Pentagon authorizes hundreds of military lawyers to serve as immigration judges in the Trump administration's push to deal with a massive backlog in cases.
And we speak to the wife of a woman who came to the U.S. as a child and is now being detained by immigration authorities.
It should be very concerning to everyone that ICE is knowingly holding someone who has protection from deportation under DACA and is claiming that their DACA status doesn't matter.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump has vowed to take his tariff fight to the Supreme Court after a federal appeals court ruled Friday most of the tariffs imposed by the White House on nearly every other country have no legal basis. This includes the Liberation Day tariffs imposed in April, as well as earlier tariffs against Canada, Mexico, and China. The decision upholds an earlier ruling by the U.S. Court of International Trade. In its decision, the appeals court called tariffs, quote, a core congressional power. After headlines, we'll speak with the former Solicitor General, Neil Katyal, who argued the legal challenge to the tariffs, as well as Oregon's Attorney General, who brought the case. In international news, a landslide in Sudan's Darfur region killed more than 1,000 people Sunday. That's according to the Sudan Liberation Movement, an armed rebel group that controls the region. The landslide destroyed a village in the Mara Mountains, where residents had sought refuge to escape fighting between the Sudanese army and the rival paramilitary faction, the Rapid Support Forces. The Darfur region is largely inaccessible to international aid groups due to the civil war, which is now in its third year. In Afghanistan, the death toll from Sunday's earthquake in a remote mountainous area near the Pakistan border has topped 1,400 and is expected to rise, with thousands more injured by the disaster. It's one of the deadliest earthquakes to hit Afghanistan in over a decade, with aftershocks felt in neighboring Pakistan and as far away as India. Roads have been blocked and communications have been disrupted. Aid workers are forced to walk for hours to reach affected communities. Here's one of the survivors, Mohammed Ibrahim.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.